Good morning, church. Our speaker today has known us for the past 4 years of high school. He got to know us even better when we were on our sophomore biology trip in 2015, and has got to even know us even better on our senior trip last year. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce my father, Dr. Russell Kim.
Good morning, everyone. You know, it's not often I get an introduction from my son, to come and speak, and so probably it's going to be the only time, because this is the only time I'm ever going to be here to give a sermon. So just so to know that. Pastor Bill Payne, thank you so much for inviting us here in the class of 2017 for the graduation, part of the graduation ceremony, the baccalaureate. I'd like to say to Principal Rowland, teachers, staff, a special thanks for guiding our kids to this point in their life. And to the parents, give yourself a pat on the back. This graduation is yours as well. I feel your pain, relief, and joy. To all of the extended Ohana and friends, thank you for being here today. I also want to take a special note. Mr. Wynn was our principal for Ryan and Riley 3 years, so we have 2 principals here, and it's pretty nice to have them as well. So, class of 2017. I'd like to thank the class again, for having me speak today. I got to know them pretty well over the years. They have been at our house for Vespers, and with permission from Reed, I was able to tag along on their trips. His older brothers, not so much. I was privileged to be a chaperone with them on their Maui biology trip 2 years ago. I will never forget swimming in the ocean and hearing the humpback whales swimming off in the distance. You guys remember that? And hearing Cool giving a chant at sunrise on Haleakala. That was awesome. It was also my privilege to be with the class on their senior trip to visit Loma Linda University, La Sierra University, Pacific Union College, and it was awesome to hear their take on which campus impressed them the most and why. We spent a lot of time together in those 3 white vans. Thanks to Gordon, DJ Wu's grandfather, for driving us all around, and for Selena Kuzma for being with us as well. It was a great trip. And most recently, I took 3 of them to visit Southern Adventist University and Kettering College. Thanks, Matt, for being our tour guide. So, I feel pretty close to this class, even though I wasn't their first pick to speak. I wasn't even their second pick this week. But I figured out the reason why you guys asked me. It's because I'm not a preacher. And hopefully my talk will be short. And we all can get to lunch earlier. Sorry guys. I'm going to keep you guys here way past lunchtime. I got it. Oh, the power of the pulpit. So, I come from a long history of family members who attended HMA. My grandfather and grandmother learned English here in the 1930s. My mother, 2 aunties, and 1 uncle attended here in the 1950s. My sister, my wife, Joyce, and I graduated in the 1980s. I have cousins that graduated in the 80s and 90s, and my 3 sons, Ryan, 2013, Riley, 2014, and Reed, tomorrow. Hopefully. So I graduated 35 years ago, almost to the day. Poor Reed, sorry, you look like me, man. It's your curse, so I'm sorry. You know what, guys? I thought long and hard of what to say today to the graduating class of 2017. What words of wisdom can I say? So for about 2 minutes, I decided what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was what I would tell myself 35 years ago when I was 18 and sitting in your pews right now. What have I learned through the years that have impacted my life in a positive way that I can share with you today? If you think about it, this is an awesome opportunity to really mess you guys up. So I'm going to start with a quote from Dr. Ben Carson. For those that don't know who Dr. Carson is, he is a world-renowned neurosurgeon who became famous by performing the only successful separation of conjoined twins joined at the back of the head. Watch his movie Gifted Hands to learn more about him. Oh yeah, and he ran for president last year. Dr. Carson has always been a big advocate for youth training. And on a C-SPAN interview in 2013, Dr. Carson gives this advice to young people. And I quote, "The average person today lives to be about 85 years old in this country. The first 20 to 25 years, you spend either preparing yourself or not preparing yourself. If you prepare yourself, you have 60 years to reap the benefits. And if you don't prepare yourself, you have 60 years to suffer the consequences. Now is the time when you are making that decision. You are the only ones who can do it. You get to choose your future." So, let's say you're 18 years old now. You have 7 years to prepare for your future. If you're the Motoyamas, you have 15 years. But still it's kind of scary. What Dr. Carson is saying is that the sooner you prepare for life, the greater the chances of your success. This is the time in your life to really put your greatest effort into achieving your goals. You don't have a spouse, you don't have kids, and the least amount of responsibilities you will ever have in your life is right now. Take advantage of it. I'm not saying you can't be successful if you start preparing later on in life. And there has been a lot of successful people who have done so. But it is this season of your life that you can pursue your dreams and goals and gain the most strides in achieving them. With that in mind, I want to share with you 4 stories. These personal stories give an insight into the circumstances that helped me shape me into who I am today. Story number 1. Give yourself permission to fail. There are some of you who know exactly what career path you want to take and can't wait to get started. If you are one of those, hats off to you. Go for it. But that wasn't me. I wasn't a bad student unless you talk to Mrs. G. But I didn't know truly what I wanted to do. In my senior yearbook, there was a page titled, "Father Time Predicts." And it had every senior's name on it. And next to your name was written as a joke, what you would be in the future, with some truth to your personality. I was going to be a world-famous cruiser. I was a guy who was friends with everyone. I loved to surf, I loved to play music, and hang out with my friends. Needless to say, I had a long road ahead of me. However, I knew I wanted to give college a try. College was my next step in life, a new chapter. But the question I wish someone had asked me was, are you all in? In other words, are you ready to give 100%? Are you ready to fail sometimes and willing to pick yourself up and keep moving forward? Again, are you all in? Do not be afraid. Are you repeat, do not be afraid to fail. I've seen fear of failure stop people from achieving their goals because they couldn't stand the idea of giving their all and not achieving what they set out to do. To me, this is faulty thinking. Failure is part of success. Just don't stay there. Obstacles and detours are going to happen to you no matter what goal you set out to achieve. Look at me. It took me 5 years of undergrad school, and I had to repeat some classes, 4 years of dental school to achieve my dream. But it didn't matter. I was all in. So give yourself permission to fail, and you will achieve your dream. Story number 2. Surround yourself with supportive people. For me, it was my old friend Jerry. Jerry was my home away from home. Have you ever been homesick, you guys? Sometimes? When I was away to college, home was a galaxy far, far away. Unlike you young people, you have Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and FaceTime on your smartphone. Your access to your friends and family are just a fingertips away. During my time, the only connection to home was a collect call from a public phone booth in the dorm, with hopes that someone at home would take the call and accept the phone charges. It was rough. That's when I met Jerry. You see, Jerry was the assistant store manager at the campus store, and he and his wife Lucy were from Hawaii. He had moved to PUC years before I got there, attended college, and never left. His house became the unofficial Hawaiian clubhouse. All the Hawaii kids and their friends would find their way there at their house Friday and Saturday nights for comfort of good food and fun times. All of us were his Hanai kids, and Lucy and Jerry were our Hanai parents. We would take many ski trips to Lake Tahoe every year. Jerry was the kind of guy that would give you his opinion, even if you didn't ask for it. But you were glad he did. He would often speak the truth you didn't want to hear, but you knew he always had your back. On one of those long car rides back to PUC from a ski trip, we ended up talking, which we always do. But this time, I was expressing my frustration on not knowing what career path I wanted to take. You see, I was finishing up my second year of college and had changed my major twice. This was beginning to cost my parents a lot of money. I knew this much. I wanted to help people, and health field was a strong call. However, there were so many options, I couldn't decide. And greater still, the fear of failure was looming over me. And I was beginning to worry. As we talked, a long silence fell. I still remember it as if it were yesterday. The next words out of Jerry's mouth was so profound to me that I still remember it as if it was yesterday. He turned to me and said, "Russ, yeah, you know, a job. And with that, he laughed. It hit me right between the eyes. As funny as it sounds, it made perfect sense to a lost 20-year-old. And on that night, driving on that long stretch of I-80 back to school, a dream was born. My dream was born. You too will have those moments of doubt. Someone special will say the right thing at the right time and at the right place. Surround yourself with people that support you. Story number 3. Use the opportunities around you to achieve your goal. This story is about my friend Jimmy. Jimmy transferred to HMA from Farrington High School, joining us our senior year. He was a smart and funny guy, and we became fast friends. You see, his family had moved from Samoa to Hawaii years before, and he would tell me stories of living and surviving at the infamous KPT, Kapil Park Test. We ended up being college roommates at KC. As college freshmen, we weren't sure what we wanted to do, but soon discovered that at Pacific Union College, there was a good chance of being accepted to Loma Linda University, where a great many healthcare-related careers were born. For Jimmy, however, going to healthcare was not his ultimate goal. His ultimate goal was to become a pilot. But there was one problem. He, nor his family, had the money to finance flight school. That didn't stop Jimmy. Instead, he saw the opportunity of being a physical therapist and to one day finance his dream. He was willing to put his all into a career that was not necessarily his dream. Although we were studying chemistry, anatomy, physiology, physics, Jimmy never lost sight of his dream of becoming a pilot. Literally, because he had taken a life-size poster of a fighter pilot's cockpit on the wall in front of his desk, where he would see the image every day. After 4 years, he eventually became a great physical therapist. He moved to Washington State, where he could pursue his dream of becoming a pilot. He could now pay for the costly flight school training, and he eventually became a co-pilot for several airlines. Today, he is a captain for Hawaiian Airlines and has a home in Maui and 1 near Seattle, Washington. Jimmy and his wife Sandy are still one of my dearest friends. And you guys remember them. They were the couple who greeted us at the airport with freshly baked Krispy Kreme donuts on your sophomore biology trip to Maui. Use the opportunities around you to achieve your goal. Story number 4. Now for my last story, probably the most important I want to share with you today is don't be a crashing gong. 2 weeks ago, I was at a memorial service to celebrate the life of my uncle, Dr. Harry Kim, who died unexpectedly. A lot of people were at the service to give their condolences. At least half the people there were my uncle's patients and former patients. At the start of the service, my cousin Brad announced an impromptu addition to the program. We were going to have a special song sung by patients of my uncle's, the Tonga Sisters from Kahului. We learned that my uncle would request this family to sing a song before and after every dental appointment. Holding back tears, one of the sisters expressed she felt so thankful that such an educated and successful man would care so much for her family. They knew my uncle regarded her family much more than she. You see, my uncle figured out a long time ago that your job and your career It's just a means or a path to connect your heart with someone else's heart and to share His love, God's love, with others. 1 Corinthians 16:14, do all things in love. John 13:35, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. The golden rule, Luke 10:27, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 5:44, love your enemies. Pray for those that persecute you. It's interesting, the New Testament actually goes farther by insisting that if we fail to love like this, it doesn't matter what else we do. In fact, it's worthless. From God's kingdom perspective, no belief or activity has any value unless it is motivated by, characterized by, the kind of love Jesus manifested throughout His life and in His death. As I read 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3, listen to it as if for the first time. If I speak in tongues of men, of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong, or a cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am. If I can give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship and I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. In other words, I can have the attributes of God, speak to both men and angels, know prophecy, know all mystery, knowledge, and have all power. I can give everything I have to the poor and die for someone else. But if there is no love in my heart, I gain nothing. And I'm just an irritating God, and I can sin. I struggled with this in high school. I can remember going to a youth church, and Pastor Jim Pimentel told us an ethical situation that spoke to this issue. He said that if you help an old lady cross the street so you can receive a reward, that's the wrong motivation. Versus, if you're helping her because you truly want to be of service with no expectation of reward, that was the right one. I can remember thinking, hey, she made it across either way, whichever motive you had. So why did it matter what your motivation was? But what Paul was saying in Corinthians is that the only criteria that matters when assessing the value of any activity is this. Is it done in love? Galatians 5:6. For in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. The only thing that counts is faith expressed through love. In other words, love is the action of the heart. I've seen this kind of love firsthand at HMA. I know no higher calling than educating our young people, and it takes a special person to teach high school, right? Building the character of students, trying to live a Christian-centered life, and at the same time dealing with all the drama on campus. It's amazing the teachers will stick around if not for the love of our kids. Parents know that your kids are loved each other. It's part of the school DNA. Being on the school board and sitting on the personnel committee, I've seen many resumes and interviewed a lot of teachers. I can say without exception, every applicant's highest priority is to help students build a loving relationship with God. Graduates, may your life be guided by the self-sacrificing love of Christ, that you will love others from the heart and do all things in love, because living any other way is not living enough. My hope and prayer is that each one of you will fulfill life's ambitions, full of fun, full of excitement, with some challenging learning lessons along the way, but that you will always remember to love God by loving others in the same manner He has loved you. Congratulations to my fellow HMA graduates, the class of 2017.